Hey everyone, my name is Alfonso Bridges, and today we'll be going over a data center's design and development. So, a brief overview of what we want to go over today is we're going to cover the importance of creating a data center and the aspects it incorporates. But before we get started, let's go over what a data center exactly is. So, the first ever data center, coincidentally enough, was used to house the first ever computer. Called the ENINC, it was constructed by the U.S. Army's Ballistics Research Laboratory in 1946. Its primary purpose was to store military codes for firing artillery, and it consisted of vacuum tubes and machines that required about 1,800 square feet, which is about half the size of a tennis court, and 150 kilowatts of power just to provide 0.05 million instructions per second of computer power. That's really slow. And here's what it looked like. As you can see, bunch of tubes and diodes, very simple setup, just a whole bunch of switches. And it was the first ever, and it was paired with the computer. And then here's how they operated it at the time. They would flip the switches and monitor all the data that would come out. And as time went on, they became more modern. So here is what a more modern data center looked like. This is by IBM. And here is the most current form of the data center. As you see, it's very sleek. A lot of the wires and stuff are gone. The cooling units and everything else is very just compact and hidden, and it looks very clean and organized. And apparently, I found this out. There's a job called data center designer, where I guess you can make data centers look like this, very stylish, very unique, very futuristic, which is a really cool job if you are into interior designing. And the most current form of data centers, they're actually going away from this model right here, and they're moving towards a more cloud-based data center. So it means like instead of having this physical building, it's going to be stored into a cloud that's like ran under the branch of the company, how like Apple has a cloud, except it'll be using all the company's information and not just like personal users like us. So, with all that being said, what exactly is the data center? A data center is a facility that centralizes an organization's shared IT operations and equipment for the purposes of storing, processing, and disseminating data and applications. They store the company's most valuable information and assets, information that is heavily relied upon them to function on a properly basis. So it's a no-brainer that security is a top priority for anyone using it. Not only do they need to be secure, but they also need to stay powered on at all times. There can be no dropping in the data center because that's literally your entire everything. Your entire company is being run on these group of machines. So it can't just drop because then you can't work and you can't make money. That's why most are directly connected to the power grid, as well as have multiple means of having backup power, such as diesel generators or batteries. And not only do they need to be constantly running, but due to the nature of computers in general, like even our computers, which have fans, they get extremely hot. So an adequate cooling system is a must. And here's all the components of a data center. We'll start from, let's see, the power system. So this is the UPS, or uninterruptible power supply. Here's the backup generator just in case the main one fails. And then it has your storage. It has your servers that you would work on. And then it has your storage area network. And then your wide area network. And your local area network. These three are all used to either connect the users, connect the company, or connect the actual storage part to the cloud. And as we talked earlier, cloud is just like the non-physical storage and use of data around the world. And they use the internet to pass this information, as well as it has cabling to connect all the wires. And here's the cooling system, which is the air conditioner to keep all the computing processes cooled down so it doesn't overheat. So, when would you use a data center? If you ever find yourself in an occupation where the organization needs to store large and copious amounts of data, as well as quickly pass information through a network to all the computers employed in its service. Think about how Gwinnett Tech works and how, while we have all our computers, we can sign in. One computer is telling everyone that you're all under the same branch. Like this, one computer is holding everyone's information in it. And then when you want to request and use this information, you would use your login and it would run to the computer and say, okay, this person has access. He can use it. And that's kind of what the data center does. Not only does it store information, but it decides and gives out protocols and functions for who can use it and what needs to be used. And then where would you need one? Like, where is it like important to have a data center? While it is cheaper than some other options for storing enormous amounts of data, it's not always needed for every situation. For example, homes aren't built with an on-site data center for a couple of reasons. For one, your power bill will be astronomically high because you have to pay for the cooling and then the power so it doesn't go out. And then think about how many times your house had a power outage. Like, it just wouldn't work. It wouldn't be effective. But in other situations, like a school, like Gwinnett Tech or Google, you would need a data center so you could handle and process all this information in a off-site area or an on-site area, depending on how big you are, and that it could just run that and only that efficiently. And just as you know, like especially in a more domestic situation at home, when a technical problem happens, especially if you're younger, your parents always ask you to fix it. So really, you are the IT department. So you don't really need a data center. You just kind of fix it yourself. So why are data centers so important? We live in an age where technology is one of the most important things in our lives. That's why systems such as data centers are so important, because not only do they hold a lot of information and help run a company's protocols, think about how often you use networks such as Google or play games on Steam. They use data centers to not only hold your information, but the information about all their games and services and how they're supposed to run. So to give you a quick brief summary of what we went over today, data centers have existed since 1946. They control and store companies' data. They compute so much they need backup power and an efficient cooling system. And I didn't put this on here, but I want to say it verbally. They help everything run smoother because it's like a brain of the system and the brain of the operations. How like your computer has like a CPU and motherboard and that runs your computer. The data system runs everyone's computer and it runs everyone's like system as long as you're using an internet-based application like Google or Steam. It's running all of that. So it's like if your computer's the local brain, the data center is the global brain. And that's all. My name is Alfonso Bridges. Thank you for listening to my presentation on data centers. I hope you guys have a good one.